It's anime time! Or manga, depending on what you like. Anyway, this is the Figma number 410. It's Guts in the Berserker armor in the Repaint Skull edition. This, as it says, is a new version of an old Guts figure. Now with a shiny new paint job and a skull and blood and whatnot. So let's have a look at it. So I just got him with the skull armor right now without the cape because the cape is huge and I'm afraid it's gonna get into the way during this review. So we're just gonna have a look at the figure, articulation and whatnot, and obviously I'm gonna give you the full package at the end of the video, but he stands at about 16.5 centimeters to the top of his head, so that's almost 6.5 inches tall. Overall look and detail of the figure, which I gotta say right away, do not have the original one, so apologies, I cannot show you the big differences right now. But I've seen some pictures. Definitely the armor looks a lot darker and there's more detail in it. Looks a little bit more shiny, also a little bit more metallic, and has more like a gunmetal vibe to it. But looking at the face, you can already tell you got the dark, and they just got these very thin kind of gray lines going around it, which makes it look really good. You also got the guts face in there with the one open eye. Just looking as maniacal as you would expect. Gritting teeth face, and by the way, you do not get a different face. Also gotta clear that out. You got the bolts on the side of the head as you move around, and kind of like a scaly back. It looks really good. And this is just kind of, why is this so crooked? Well, I guess the head, just move the head around. But yeah, this is kind of stationary. Just wiggle it around a little bit, but you can take that off. Obviously there's different parts, there's different forms to this armor, and they deliver on that. But there's part of the cape, you just kind of drape the rest of the cape over it. Got more detail in the back, and it's kind of like the entire theme with the gunmetal and then the gray lines. There's no, well, there are some small spots here and there, but nothing to complain as I move down to the big fists. He has big fists, really. But I gotta wonder, like, he is bigger than a regular Figma. But I wonder if he's big enough, really. I kind of want to do some comparison at the end. Panels hanging off, which are not articulated, also are hard plastic, so you cannot move that up down to the crotch piece and the pants under it with much more detail, more bolts. Pant detail in the back and big bone joints. By the way, they have the knee pads kind of just draped over it, so you will never see the knee joint. That's really well done. Kudos to that as we move down to the boots. More detail in it, more scaly, and that's really what attracted me to this armor, because it looks so good. So it looks good, but how does it articulate? I would say, well, the head is on a ball hinge as usual, moves back and forth just a little bit actually, and then there's the neck articulation. It's more the neck. The head, I just realized, is pretty limited. You can move it around, not even all the way, but it does tilt side to side also. But it's really the neck doing all the work here. Kind of have the same thing with the shoulders. It's the standard Figma stuff. You got one ball hinge and another ball joint in the torso. So you can rotate that around, and they made this floaty piece over here covering it up. Just kind of move that into position so it don't leave any gaps, but has some good articulation. As a result, after the big shoulder pad though, you're not really getting the shoulder up a lot. It is soft at the tips over here, but that doesn't help much because, I mean, look at all this stuff. There's no way you can move this around without breaking it up. And if you're breaking it up, it doesn't look nice. Also doesn't have bicep swivel under it. It kinda has a little bit of movement in it, but not great. Then you got a ball hinge in the shoulder and a simple hinge in the fist, which is really Figma classic. I kinda wondered why they didn't update that. Just, you know, sticking a ball joint in there. But I guess that wouldn't have worked with the engineering from back then. Then you got another ball hinge for your chest articulation. It's pretty nimble actually. It does leave a little bit of a gap, but it's not too bad. Goes forward, back, and does to side. Side also goes all the way around. And for the lower torso area, they also have like a piece in there, which has just a little bit of wiggle motion. As you can tell, it makes a very bad noise. But overall, let me see. I had it in there. Like, you can see it, but it's not a thing. You have the crotch piece, which is a little bit movable, so you can drape it down to just get it a little bit forward, or you can drape it up to cover up the stuff that's going down under it. Now for the leg articulation, goes forward, once again the crotch piece, this upper part over here, is soft plastic, so that will get out of the way. But still, there's a lot of stuff going on, so he doesn't really kick that high, doesn't really go that much to the back or to the side. Has some rotation in it. And then we got the ball hinge in the knee, as I mentioned, with the nice knee pad. And the foot is on the ball hinge, has some good side-to-side rotation. Goes forward, goes to the back, and he even has a toe hinge. So for the accessories, we've seen the skull helmet. Now for the more personalized Guts helmets, the little bit more Batman helmets. We got one where he goes full Berserk with the red eyes and everything, which can't take the front part off, but it has just kind of some dark lock in there, which you cannot replace with his face. And I'm just kind of wondering why that is. Why do you even have the option to take this off? Because this is completely connected in there, unless I'm missing something. So you can move this up and down. This looks really nice, by the way. I love it. And let me put on the extra light. There you go. Doesn't help anything. It's too dark. And then you got this one, more standard style, where once again you can take the front piece off, and then you can put the Guts face in it. And I also wanted to give you a look at Guts' face out of the armor, because there's still a lot of detail in there. Unfortunately, you can't really display him with that because you have this this area which is not covered by anything. And even if you take it out, obviously that doesn't, you have nothing to hold on then. What the hell? As such, obviously you got the cape pieces that go with the different helmets, one with the teeth on it and one without the teeth when he goes full Berserk. Then we got the hands, same thing. You got a bunch of like open hands, different style with the spikes on it. And there's really a ton just for posability with the sword. And then you got two open hands and just kind of a little bit folded hands and posing hand stuff. I told you that he has big hands, that's why he has two. He has two of these sheets. And then you got the Dragon Slayer, which this is the one thing, it looked regular in the previous edition, and now they put a whole bunch of blood and black spots on it. I think it's a little bit too much. I mean, I like it. It looks good for a figure, but what's up with the black? I mean, it's like blood and, I don't know, I guess from the dirt. And overall, for as realistic as the armor looks, this looks a little bit too cartoony for my taste. It's still good. It's still a good looking sword. Yeah, I don't know. I think they went a little bit overboard. And then you got the astral version of, what was the name? Shirk. Which you can connect to Guts' back. That's why she has a peg in there. If you don't want to do that, you still have the peg, but then you can't really, doesn't have any stand, doesn't have anything to hold her. Really just an accessory to hold on to Guts. And then finally, as a regular Figma, you got the Figma back. Let me actually unfold that for once. You got the Figma back with a nice Figma logo on it, and you could put Guts over here. Can write that down. And then you got the Figma base, old school Figma base with the old school black pack, which you can use, but you don't have to. So yeah, that was a more detailed look at the base. You're welcome. So I just want to give you a look of the cape, obviously, and a couple of things that kind of, well, one thing that really bothers me. Berserker, she kind of hangs on to the back over here. First and foremost, it was kind of hard to connect. And then the peg hole is under the floppy part, the soft plastic part of the cape. So as a result, the cape kind of always just hangs up there, which I'm not the biggest fan of it, but yeah. And as I mentioned previously, I usually don't do this, but I just want to have a look at how Guts scales to other Figmas, and they kind of did what they often do. Yeah, they kind of scale him down. You can tell that small head and whatnot. He should definitely be a lot taller than Yugi, and I just grabbed Yugi just as a random comparison. I summoned my Berserker armor in attack mode. Okay, get out of the way. And that's gonna do it. That's gonna bring me to the final thoughts for this Guts in the Berserker armor. What do I think about this figure? I mean, just look at this piece. This is definitely something out of the ordinary. I love the design already of the armor, and they made a great job kind of bringing it to life. Now the negatives, really the only thing, I guess the articulation is a little bit more limited, but that's acceptable with all the stuff that's going on. Me personally, I would have preferred to have a cloth cape, although this one is really nicely molded, but it also is kind of hindering himself a little bit in the posing abilities. Also his leg kind of disconnects sometimes, but yeah. I got off track, so overall what I'm saying is, this figure is amazing. I love the design, I love what they did with it, and well, also the joints are a little bit too loose, especially for a big guy, and I do not get to reattach this leg right now, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. So yeah, I do recommend this figure because it looks great, he articulates well, and has tons of good accessories, so really nothing huge to complain about, just small issues here and there, which I can look over and say, not a problem. So that's gonna do it, guys. As usual, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this review, hit it up with a like and subscribe to the channel so you can stay tuned for more figure reviews, card game stuff, and whatever Guts wants.